All right. We are so excited to have Jaimme and Mandy on the show. I have been wanting to talk to you guys for a long time about all things CBD and especially from Treadwell Farms because I love it. I use it and I love it. So thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you for having
Yes, we're so happy that you're here with us. I mean, I know both of you are a wealth of information in this area, and I know there's many white-haired seniors like me that are just waiting for this information because they're asking me these questions in my office all the time. So I'm so happy you're both here. That's
Thank
so
you for having us.
yeah.
Let's get started. And Jaimme, you are Jaimme of Treadwell Farms, and I am just so curious to hear your story and how this like wonderful family-owned business. I love your picture in the background. You got Treadwell Farms and the Florida picture there. I just want to hear your story and how you kind of this all developed, and you fell in love with CBD and.
It's really tied to my own health and mental health journey. I grew up in a farming family, so we're over 100 years farming in Florida. I grew up with my parents having a foliage nursery, so all of those plant babies that everyone's growing, that's what we grew. And we had an opportunity to pursue a medical cannabis license. And that's not what I ever thought I saw myself doing. But as I started researching it and studying it and traveling in legal states and even traveling to Israel and internationally to understand more, it really became clear to me that if my family could take its skills and experience growing plants, if we could grow plants that would actually help people, why wouldn't we do that? So that started down a journey of helping start a CBD company in Oregon, having a medical cannabis license in Florida. And then when the hemp program opened, it was perfect because what we love about it is we can grow this amazing plant that has so many benefits, actually helps the earth while we grow it. And because we can interact with other businesses, we can sell it at the community places that people trust, we can really make it a lot more accessible. At a personal level, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder called Hashimoto's in thyroiditis in my 30s.
Jaimme, I have Hashimoto's.
We can get into it.
Interesting. I was diagnosed last year.
And when I was finally diagnosed, I just was having a lot of issues. I had been triggered into a clinical depression. And through that time period, I had always been kind of a by the book thinker when it came to medical decisions and pharmaceuticals and things. And I found myself in a situation which I needed to find more natural options because my immune system was so fired up that it could actually recognize the synthetic pharmaceuticals. So that took me down a path of some alternative medicines, adding massage therapy, really having to finally learn more about self-care. So when the opportunity to get involved with cannabis and ultimately CBD came, I was mentally prepared for it because I understood that people need other more natural options and that the normal option doesn't work for everybody.
For sure.
So I've always found it interesting that my health journey and my mental health journey like facilitated me to this place because the products we make are the products I need to keep myself happy and healthy. So it's very personal.
That's such an interesting story. Jaimme, what was your timeline for how long that took to evolve for the healing to begin?
I would say from 2010 to 2012 was when I was having all these kind of unexplained health issues. And I was a management consultant with one of the biggest consulting firms in the world. I had been very successful, fast tracked to partner, was young for that, and had really been focused on my career and had the tiger by the tail that way. Then I started to get sick. And of course, I go to the best endocrinologist, the best of everything, right? And I got very frustrated because my labs would be better, but because I wasn't properly diagnosed, I didn't feel better. And so then the immediate thing was, oh, it's all in your head. Well, I knew it wasn't in my head. I knew that I needed mental health support but mostly I was just frustrated because I felt like I wasn't being listened to. And it wasn't until I found a doctor that was taking a more holistic approach. So that from 2010 to 2012 was kind of like the wandering years where I was trying to figure it out. Finally, in 2012, I took a leave of absence from my work to focus on it because I just was at a point where I needed to do that, which was a huge step for me. I found a doctor and it was a process. And I would say from 2012 until 2014-ish, it was a process of figuring out what were the self-care techniques that I needed, what was the right medication option. It was food, it was diet and exercise, it was taking care of my brain too, my mental health. So by the time we were looking at medical cannabis, I was ready for that conversation because I could learn about it and figure out how that made sense to someone like me who was never judgmental about cannabis. Like it never bothered me if other people used it. So it was never like I was scared of it. It just wasn't my thing. So I kind of feel like I come at this industry. Mandy and I are a great pair because we both have found the way to use it that works for us. And that's one of the messages we want to get out is these are tools that you can have in your tool belt, and how Mandy uses it can be different than how I use it, but it can work for both of us. That's kind of my journey. And I don't think I would have, and I guess this is like life, right? Like that was so devastating to me to have to really change my life in order to take care of myself. But if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have been prepared and ready to open Treadwell Farms and do the things that we're doing with the same level of passion and intention if I hadn't had that experience. So
it's amazing. I hear so much of how you advocated for yourself, right? Like so many, like you knew something was wrong and you kept going forward and found like your route to healing.
I had to, and it really sensitized me, I think, in a different way. My professional background, I worked with a lot of health insurance companies. I was very familiar with the medical process, but and I appreciate all the healing that goes on, but it is mentally draining and physically tiring to be going from doctor to doctor and trying different things and then having side effects from the medication that they put you on with other medications. I mean, it was just it was a really hard period of time for me. And I'm the kind of person that usually can figure things out and get them done. And I felt completely overwhelmed. So you're right. I advocated for myself and I trusted my intuition about that something was still wrong, even if a doctor was holding up a piece of paper that said your levels are normal. But part of the issue is I had never been tested before this. So what if my level, what's normal for me is not what's normal for everybody else? And so it really kind of clued me in to that each of us can be different, and the tools that we need to take care of ourselves and keep ourselves healthy can be different. It just made me a lot more open-minded and understanding about why products like the ones we make are important for people to have and to have access to find their path to healing and wellness and what they're trying to accomplish in their life.
So interesting. So I'm not sure because I don't know certainly as much as Sarah does some of your background, but I'm curious in terms of providing the educational healing. Is this more where Mandy comes in, or you do this as well? Can you explain your dynamic together?
Sure, I do education as well, but I don't think I do it as well as Mandy. She's really good at helping people understand hard concepts.
She is. She was in my membership as a guest, and she blew it away. She's such a teacher. Yes.
I'm the nerdy version of Mandy. We're over here at Treadwell Farms. We're really plant nerds. We grow all of these plants. We take all these extra steps that most other CBD companies don't take. We're students of the plant. We view our job, the plant has the most healing potential when it's living. And just like any fruit or vegetable, flower, as soon as you cut it down, it's losing those benefits. So I feel like my job is to figure out what are all the steps, big and small, that we can take to grow the plants in the best way so they have the most healing potential. And then from everything from how we harvest them, hand harvesting, we steam distill terpenes at dawn before the sun can hit the plants and destroy those compounds.
Yeah.
We slow dry and cure. It's a 10 to 12 day process. We make all of our products in a former citrus processing plant, so everything's stored in the citrus cooler. So we keep it at cool temperatures. I could just go on and on with it. I mean, I think I'm a good educator. Mandy's a great educator, but we just really try to pay attention to those details that we think can make sure that the product that we put in the bottle or in the salve jar or in the gummy, that hemp extract, the CBD that we're putting in it, is the best quality that we can, and that it's honoring the plant that we grew. Or the other thing about us is we grew it, or we know who did, and not a lot of other CBD companies can say that. So.
And how regulated is that, Jaimme?
Florida is one of the more regulated states. That's another message that Mandy and I try to get out. And normally I'm kind of less regulation is better. But in this case, it's really important for consumers to understand that we have to do third-party testing to make sure that our products are free of pesticides, heavy metals, microbials, mycotoxins, residual solvents, or other things that could hurt someone. It's my personal opinion that the CBD or THC probably is not going to hurt someone. It might make them feel weird for a little while if something's not right, but those other things will. So it's really important for your listeners or viewers to know that their product should have a QR code that goes to a third-party lab that says this product is free and clean of any contaminants that could be hurtful. As someone who has an autoimmune condition, I don't want to put anything additional in my body that might cause me a problem. So that's really important. We have batch numbers and expiration dates. All the ingredients have to be listed. Allergens have to be identified. Although CBD products are federally legal, each state has its own rules. And I'm really proud that Florida has stricter rules and more consumer protections than most other states. And Mandy, I think you would agree, like, we're being from Florida and fresh from Florida is, if people look for that, even if they don't buy Treadwell Farms products, it's a good thing to look for.
And if there's no QR code, does that mean it's not regulated or no third-party testing?
In Florida, we're required to have a QR code that you can scan with your phone when you buy.
Okay.
To me, the gold standard is the QR code, because that makes it super easy. If not, you should be able to go to their website. There should be test results that you can find and review. And that's what I always tell people. If you go on a CBD company's website and you cannot easily find test results, don't go there.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
Might do more harm than good.
Yeah. Well, so Mandy, how did you find her? How did you get involved with Treadwell Farms? Tell us the story.
It's been really hard to be quiet.
No good.
I hope I haven't been talking to
you. No, you say so many wonderful things, and I think when you ask what's our dynamic, is we kind of play off each other to help, because there is so much to remember, that we play off each other a lot to help us remember those little things. But my stories, I teared up when Jaimme was talking about hers, because it just felt like this really incredible full circle moment to be sitting and doing this podcast with Jaimme, because I didn't realize our timelines were pretty similar. So I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 2010. I had a little bit of a different situation in that I didn't really have too many symptoms. I think I did, but my stomach just hurts, or I'm just having cramps, or I just ate something bad. I think I was at the point where I could still justify it. And my blood work came back abnormal. My white blood cells were slightly elevated. They retested it several times. They couldn't find out what was wrong. And they actually sent me to a cancer specialist. And I remember being in that doctor's office, and I had really high anxiety, hello, hello, Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
So I had super high anxiety. The doctor walked in and I just burst into tears. And he said, what is your symptoms? What, is there anything? And I go, sometimes I have pain on my lower right abdomen. And so through further testing, we found out it was Crohn's disease, and very similar to Jaimme, I was in a really high pressure job, which I'm sitting there nodding as you're saying it, Jaimme, because I was in corporate event planning in South Florida, and I did really big corporate events like the Super Bowl after parties, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, the Food and Wine Festival, stuff for like Glamour magazine. And it was just, I was 23 years old, and I was always that type A, good student. And so with event planning, there's so much logistics and there's so much time and pressure and coordinating, that it really took a toll on me and my body and my system. And I had to stop. After I got diagnosed, I had to really alleviate stress and anxiety in my life. And I hadn't gone through a mental health journey. I hadn't understood my anxiety. So instead of turning inward to connect those dots, instead I started treating my symptoms and I started treating the inflammation. And it was through cannabis. I started smoking cannabis first, more so as a recreational pastime, because I couldn't drink alcohol anymore. It really upset things. And ironically, my Crohn's symptoms got worse once I got my diagnosis, because I think that then there was more anxiety around, what do I have? And oh my God, I have an autoimmune disease. And in a weird way, it just kind of shot up instead of getting better. And so I couldn't drink alcohol, and I turned to cannabis. I hated it. I was opposite of Jaimme. I hated it. I wanted nothing to do with it. If you were smoking, I had friends in high school that would consume. And if you were, I didn't want to be around you. I thought it changed who you were. It wasn't just a neutral thing to me. Like, I was very against it, and all drugs in general. I didn't even drink alcohol until I was like a senior in high school. So I was very much that by the book person. But then I realized, oh, when I smoke, I'm not nauseous and I'm actually hungry, and oh, I have an appetite. And I started to see these correlations between when I would consume and how I would feel. So then it just became a snowball into research and digging into the science and really wanting to understand, why does this have such a bad negative reputation, and why is it making me feel better? So that's where my journey really started. And once I started learning all of those things, I was like, why is this a negative? Why is it a Schedule I drug? Why is this illegal? It's a plant, and look at all these incredible ways it helps our body. So then it just became my mission and my passion to teach about it, because like Jaimme, I don't want people to have to wait to turn to it as an option. We don't have to look at it as this horrible, terrible, bad thing that you have to try all this other stuff first until you're able to go to cannabis. If you learn the science behind it, it's actually very harmless. There's a lot of pros and not many cons. So that's what I do, is I teach that so people feel more comfortable turning to it quicker, as a solution, or one of the tools.
Mm-hmm. And how did you and Treadwell Farms partner up?
Yes, thank you. Looping me out. So my journey started with THC. I used to think CBD was bullshit. I thought CBD was diet weed. I really, really did. And I remember as I was learning about things, I said, wait until THC is legal. All this CBD junk's going to go away. And the universe said, no. And the first show I ever got invited to speak at was a CBD show in Las Vegas. And I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to learn about it anywhere, I'm going to learn about it here. And I did. And I realized, holy moly, this is a really incredible compound that is different than THC. Mm-hmm. And so I learned a lot about it. And then I went to a cannabis festival here in Florida, and I was trying to find a local farmer. Because it's just like food. It's you want to know the source that it came from. You want to know how it was grown. You want to know the care that was taken to ensure that you're getting the best end product. And so I walked around the field looking for a CBD company, and their little table was way out in the field. And I don't know why I walked over there. Well, but I walked over there and we had a beautiful conversation. I met a couple of gentlemen that worked for her. And then I went and met Jaimme shortly after. And it was history. I mean, it's just why wouldn't we work together? So Jaimme and I have brought Jaimme in to education platforms in the villages, to anything that I do, because what's better than meeting the farmer? It's the source it comes from. So that's how Jaimme and I started working together.
Love that. Yeah.
Let's back up a little bit because we're talking a lot about CBD and I don't think we've explained what it is. So either one of you can kind of talk about what CBD is and how it works in the brain and the body, and maybe a little bit of how it's different than THC, because we kind of talked a little bit about cannabis versus CBD.
Yeah. Jaimme, you want to take it or you want me to jump?
Well, maybe I can just start by explaining one core concept, which is we're part of the hemp program in Florida, which has only existed since 2020. So that's when we met, is that first little booth that Mandy went to at the very start, like our first crop, I think, probably. So she was with us right from the beginning. Hemp is a cannabis sativa L plant. That's the genus and species. Hemp is really a legal name. Hemp is any cannabis sativa L plant that has less than 0.3% THC on a dry weight basis. Because I'm the nerd, I have to throw in the detail.
No, it's good.
So what that means is the plants that we grow, we prioritize all of the other cannabinoids that have beneficial compounds, but THC is just a very small part. We focus on growing plants that have not only CBD, but other beneficial compounds, terpenes, and flavonoids, and a whole host of things. Because what you have to remember about cannabis is it's been federally illegal, which means there hasn't been a lot of research on it, because most medical schools, research institutions, colleges, they're not going to research something that might lose their federal funding. So we're behind on the amount of research that's happening. All of these different compounds are being discovered and researched now. So there's a constant amount of information about how beneficial this is. CBD is one of the more well-known, and we've focused on it for three things, which is balance, recover, and sleep, just to try to make it simple. So we grow plants and we take the buds, which we squeeze almost like an essential oil, right? A cannabis bud is unique, a hemp bud is unique in that it's like having your own essential oil blend. It'll have the cannabinoids, the terpenes, and other beneficial compounds. So we create those extracts. Then we put them in forms that you can put them on your body or in your body. And I'll let Mandy talk more about what happens next, but that kind of gives you that hemp is cannabis. It's just a little bit of a different kind of cannabis, as far as THC is not the star ingredient. It's still an important one. We focus on those compounds and then make these essential oils that we can incorporate into different products.
Yeah, exactly. And so same plant, same species, just producing different levels of the cannabinoids. So hemp produces a heavier level of the CBD and less THC, whereas marijuana produces more THC and just a teeny tiny bit of CBD. So it's just what the plant naturally produces. So then within your body, you have what is called an endocannabinoid system. Sometimes it's abbreviated as ECS. And it is responsible for controlling homeostasis within your body. It's made up of two different receptors. There's a CB1 and a CB2 receptor. And those receptors are all over your body with bigger concentrations in your brain and into your gut. But they're everywhere: bone, skin, you name it, you have a CB receptor somewhere in there. So what happens is when you consume CBD, it's a molecule and it will interact with those receptors. So CBD itself sits on top of the receptor, kind of like a blanket, whereas THC locks and binds with the receptor, like a lock and key. So they interact with those receptors in different ways, which is why you have a different effect from each of them, not only like euphorically, but also they have different effects within the system of your body because of how they interact with that receptor differently. So CBD tends to be particularly good for inflammation, helping with inflammation because of the way it interacts. And that also doesn't make you euphoric because it doesn't lock and bind. It just sits on top. So it doesn't give you that same euphoric effect that THC can.
So when people say like they feel really high or like paranoid, that sometimes some of those things come out, that's not going to happen in CBD because it's on top of the receptors.
Correct. Typically not. Yep, exactly. And then when I say that the endocannabinoid system creates homeostasis within the body, I think it's important to detail out what that means because it literally controls almost everything. So it's what tells you your stomach's going to growl because it's trying to tell you that you're hungry and you need to eat. It's what's going to make you shiver because you're cold and you need to put on a sweater. It works on your cardiovascular. It works on your GI system. I mean, when I say it is involved in almost every single process of your body, it is. It's almost involved in every single process of your body. So why not take a supplement that fills in the gaps where your body might be missing some of those things on its own.
And one interesting thing about
those
what Mandy,
supplements
that's
are
how she
what
can
Treadwell Farms creates.
Need help with her GI tract.
Yes.
For ice
Are there many types?
Because we have these receptors all throughout our body. Yes, I might need it for anxiety or inflammation. Someone else may need it for something else. Our bodies are smart enough to get what we need where we need it. That can be confusing for people because it's so multi-purpose. That can be so that's why we make products, drops that you can put under your tongue, topicals that you can apply directly where it hurts. We make gummies that go option for you to take. We do smokable. So if people want to inhale it, it is the fastest way to get it into your body. Mandy does great videos to show you how to make canna butters. We have recipes on our website that we can show you how to incorporate our tinctures or drops into a salad dressing or into your smoothie or into your coffee. So we don't want to make it confusing. I can pick and choose the option that's right for me. Mandy may enjoy smoking. That's not my thing. So I always go more towards tinctures. I think topicals are for people that there are so many options, but I look at it like it's just a tool. And I find it freeing that underrated. I love that I can put on one of our roller balls before I go to sleep and I'm getting a relaxation and almost creating a sleep routine. So we just try to make products that can meet people where they are in a way that they consume them, that they are comfortable with. So,
and they're all, I think what's important to note too, is we keep saying they're tools in the toolbox. You don't have to use the same tool all the time and they have different purposes. So like, for example, chronic pain, typically the cause is inflammation. So I will tell someone, yes, you want to take an oral CBD, you want to get it into your body to help alleviate that inflammation. But if that's not doing it for you that day, maybe that regular supplement of CBD that you take, the tincture, 20 milligrams is usually what does it for you. Maybe the day it's not working, you use a solve on top of it. So you can compound and add things to this foundation that you set for yourself. And I think that can in a way be daunting and overwhelming for people because it's not how our medical system works. It is not how we were taught, and it's not what we've experienced within the medical system. We're used to walking into a doctor's office, them giving you a prescription and putting a pill in your hand and saying, this is going to fix it. Whereas with plant medicine, as much as Jaimme and I realized, it's about tuning into yourself as well. The biggest result of stress is inflammation. Well, look, Jaimme and I were both in extremely stressful jobs. Both of our bodies were like, you're not listening. We're going to make you listen. And so helping with the inflammation also helps with mental health, but there's things to layer into it and you get to choose what you need that day. And so at first, that's a little bit of a battle with people because they just want to be given a regimen and that's it, and they want to be done with it. But this is about more. This is about really healing the whole. Yes, we're going to help you with the symptoms and we're going to go in and work on like the biology of things, but you have to participate in this. And when you do, it's a really incredible thing because then you have agency, you are in control, not somebody in a white coat that you think knows more than you and knows more about your body than you do. So it's good to have all those options, and you can use them in multiple ways and at the same time or not. And so it's good. It's not just one thing you can kind of layer in.
Well, and getting really in tune with your body. That's something that is a very different conversation about understanding what you need and then knowing how to grab the right tool. I'm curious if there's any way you could bring about a framework for this. So you talked about there's like 0.3% THC in it. Is there too much, or what's the standard amount of CBD you can take in a day, or maybe relate it to if I need it for sleep or stress or anxiety, or a little bit of framework so then people know how to play within that box? Oh, I love your tinctures. The one for sleep.
So good. They taste the best too. They work the
It
best, but they
does
taste the
taste
best.
good. I've tasted some before and they're not good.
Mm-mm. So good.
Mm, mhm, for sure. Oh, those are the ones with the zinc and the vitamin C. I love. You said you said that you could take more. Is that right, though? If you needed. So if you needed more than 20 milligrams, there wouldn't be any. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's interesting you talked about saturation, because I think that's, when I talk to my clients at work, they say, well, is there addictive qualities of this? Is this going to show up on a drug test? I mean, what would you say to that?
Mm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the comparison that I've heard it to is it's like eating a poppy seed bagel and being told you're going to test positive for heroin. So how many bagels would you have to eat for that actually to happen? So that's what I've heard it compared to. But again, and I'm always careful because you're playing with someone's pension, with their retirement, with their livelihood. The chances of it popping off positive on a drug test is very, very, very slim, but it is possible. And Jaimie's right that there's different degrees of sensitivity between different employers. So most of the time, this question really comes up in the medical profession and also first responders. So I always say it's just better not to play with it. And I would definitely go for, so it's called broad spectrum, is when it doesn't have any THC. I don't, like Jaimie says, you want to be as close to the whole plant as possible. It's just going to make it work better. So I don't think broad spectrum, you might have to take a little bit more to get the same effect, but it's safe and it's definitely not going to cause you any issues on a drug test. And then in terms, just to kind of go back to your question about addiction, so I can equate the addictiveness of CBD and THC to the addictiveness of coffee and caffeine. So that's a really good parallel for people to use to understand. Your body wants it. Your body knows that it's good for it. So you will want it. You'll crave it in a way.
Mm.
But if you ever need to stop, if you ever have to stop for a procedure or anything for whatever reason, you can. You'll just have maybe a couple days where you feel like you want to reach for it, or you might get a tiny little headache or something like that. But it would be like stopping your cup of morning coffee.
Hmm.
And then for dosages, so I agree, 20 milligrams, 20 to 25 every day is a great baseline for the majority of people. I have an autoimmune disease, so I take 50 milligrams. I double that. I think if you have something that you're working with, it's safe to go up. There's a really great resource called PubMed, pub like a bar, med like medical, where you can look up research studies, and they're all very legitimate. And in doing so, I've researched how much CBD can you take before there's any adverse effects. And most studies get you up to about 1,000 milligrams before it starts affecting the liver and the kidneys. So no one I know has ever gone near that amount or touched that amount. The most I think I've ever had someone on is like 200 milligrams. So that gives you the wide range of parameters, but I'd say most people fall between that 20 and 100 milligram mark.
Great answer. Great answer. Like
Well,
coffee.
and I know when I switched to the salve like for topical for pain, I was using one that was really low, and I shifted to yes, that one, Jaimie, and it was, what's the number on there? It's like 600 milligrams, and that's finally where I actually felt relief is from that product, different than other ones where it just felt like a nice moisturizer.
Well, yeah,
I know.
that's what's crazy too is so people that get into the CBD industry, I can't even tell you how many people have said they bought all these CBD products and tested them, and 90% of them don't even have CBD in them. And then if
Oh.
you like look on Amazon, you'll see all those products come from hemp seed oil. Amazon will not sell
Mm,
CBD from the plant. So again, if you're
mm,
ever unsure, if you're ever curious, is that
mm.
good? Is hemp seed oil good? Well, you kind of have to ask yourself, am I going to get the same nutrients from oil pressed from an avocado seed as I would from eating the whole avocado? Probably
Yeah.
not. So
Mm,
that's why it is so important to know the source, to know, you don't have to know the farmer. I mean, it's even better when you do, but to know how and where it's grown is so important because there is so much out there that is not a good quality product or is a super low dose. And then when I get upset is when people say, well, this doesn't work. This isn't for me. And it's because they were using a product that was misrepresented. And then they leave it
mhm.
as an option. And I'm like, no, 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 let's try a good one. But I think it's also important to point out that CBD takes time. It can take time to work. It can take anywhere from 2 days, which if that's you, great. That's very lucky. Awesome. But it can take up to 4 weeks for it to have its full
Mm.
effects. So it's like a multivitamin. It's sometimes it's doing things you don't even realize it's doing. And like Jammie said, you'll just have this little thing all of a sudden. Like I have so many examples of it. My mom would get out of bed and her feet would hurt in the morning for a while before she walked around. And she looked at me and goes, "My feet don't hurt in the morning anymore." And it's just
You,
the littlest stuff, you know?
yeah.
And I had another friend, her thumb twitches when she's
Hmm.
like stressed or tired. She realized her thumb stopped twitching. Her thumb doesn't twitch anymore. So
That's
it's just
great.
these weird little things that you just start noticing that you don't even realize you had adapted to, and you get little parts of your life back. And it's really great and
Mm,
fun.
I love
mm.
it.
Jammie, is there a shelf life on these products?
Hmm. Mhm. Oh. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
The biggest enemies of cannabis are light and air and heat. Those are your
Mm.
three. So that's why the dark bottle protects it from the light. It helps the heat absorption. So if they're not doing that,
Mm.
then you're probably not getting the best product inside of that bottle.
So how does that work when you're mailing out these products with Florida's heat? Does it affect it? Mm-hmm. Good to know.
So I know you guys, you talked about earlier the three components were, you said balance, recovery, and sleep. Were those the three mental health? Mm. Mm.
Mhm.
That's how we talk about therapy. You don't have to come in crisis. You can start folding that in now. So I love it's very aligned. I love that. Hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I have a question, and maybe both of you can answer this. So I have so many clients on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds. So can this be used in conjunction with, or should they wean themselves off of it before they go? What's the suggestions for this?
Yeah. Mm. Oh.
So I could refer them for some more education to you ladies, because my clients go to their psychiatrists or doctors and they say, absolutely, do
Mhm.
not go off of these. You will be,
Yeah.
oh, no, that is not what you want. I mean, it's just
So they
nothing.
feel fearful, right? They don't know what else to do.
So I could refer them to
Yeah.
one of you two for some education in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. There's in all the time that and again, like Jammie said, I'm not a doctor, she's not a doctor, but there's not a lot of research on this because it is federally a Schedule 1 drug. So a lot of the evidence that we have is anecdotal, and it comes from experience, and it comes from working with people. And if there's anything that Jammie and I have done, maybe we don't have PhD in front of our names, but we have certainly worked with a lot of people that we've just learned through their experiences and through their journals and reporting back to us. But I have never had, you definitely don't want to stop anything. Cannabis does not really have many adverse effects with other medications or drugs. The ones that are out there that we know of are chemotherapy. Ironically, you don't want to eat edibles when you're on chemotherapy. It can affect
Are you
the
talking edibles CBD or edibles THC?
Well, so if CBD has a little bit of THC, you want to be careful. Anything oral with chemotherapy, it's definitely something to consult your oncologist with. Oncologists do tend to have a bit more knowledge about cannabis than some other doctors. But in terms of mental health, I've never had anybody had to stop anything. If anything, they're adding the cannabis to their current regimen. And then as time goes on, they're realizing, hey, I feel really, really good. I understand CBD now. I understand what my foundation is and how to play with these tools. I'd like to try to wean off a little bit or take less of a dose. And it's done in a very gradual, very safe space so that you and your mental health practitioner can decide what that balance looks like. But typically you can reduce your medications. I'm off all prescription medications for my Crohn's disease and for my anxiety. And that probably took me about a while, probably like 5-6 years. And I think part of it too is you get to a place where you feel good and you don't want to throw that balance off. And that's okay too. So you kind of just hang out there for a while until you're ready to say, let's see what else or not. Just be there.
Yeah, still just advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people do share, is that it's hard when they're getting a prescription medication, is that there's other side effects that are happening that, they don't feel as vibrant or full, or they feel like their stomach hurts or the headaches or the fogginess. And that's, I think, where a lot of people were interested in this conversation, because they want to be able to take back, their health into their own hands and just really like treat each piece of it, which it sounds like this is what they can do. I know you two have partnered up on some other products. I wanted to have a chance to hear about those.
Yes. Jammie made my dream come true. She
Casually just says.
Yeah. It is. I think what happens is you learn the benefits of CBD and you realize how many places you have these receptors. So then it just becomes this thing that you want to grab for all the time. And I got a really bad sunburn one day. I live in Florida in the Sunshine State, and I love the beach and I love being outdoors. And I got burned, and I looked for a natural remedy. I went to the store, and all I could find was neon green gel with all this dye in it and so unnatural and yucky. And so I went home and I said, I can do something better. Like why? And so I grabbed my tincture from Treadwell and I grabbed my aloe plant and I broke it apart and I made this little mixture and concoction. And then I started doing research on other flowers, other healing plants. And then it slowly grew to this. So it's CBD plus aloe after sun oil. And it also has lavender, calendula, and chamomile in it to help. And so the CBD goes straight to your CB1 receptors on your skin. So that's why these salves work. That's why topicals work. And it's anti-inflammatory. It helps relieve redness and swelling and itching. It provides relief. And then you add that aloe and all those other yummy flowers behind it. And it's just a really lovely, like Jammie said, it's a ritual in a way. Instead of taking a medicine, plant medicine gets to be this special ritual with yourself. You don't have to take a pill. You get to eat a yummy gummy and put some delicious smelling oil on your skin. There's nothing clinical about it. So yes, it's an after sun oil. You can find it on Jammie's website on Treadwell Farms. And I use it religiously, not only just as after sun, but as a moisturizer. And I love it, and I hope everyone else loves it as much as I do.
I've used it. I love it, and it works.
Yeah, it works.
And it works. I use it on my burn, and then my fair skin, it turned into a non-burn. I wouldn't say tan, because I don't really tan, but it didn't burn. And it didn't peel. I mean, it was such a good moisturizer. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. And Jaimme helped me bring it to life when there was no one else I wanted to work with, and the quality of what they make and how they produce things and the intention behind it. There was no one else that I would want to partner with to bring this to life. So, and I learned a lot. I got to see a product. I got to see how a product was made. And I think that's something really cool that Jaimme offers to people that are so passionate, because a lot of us are patients. A lot of people started as patients. So to see your illness and disease that was the worst thing that ever happened to you turn into a passion and turn into a product that you want to create, for Jaimme to help people bring that to life is really powerful, because you have the experience, but maybe you don't have the know-with-all. So thank you, Jaimme.
What do I always say, Sarah? It's happened for you, not to you, right?
Yeah,
it happened for you. So you could produce what you're producing. So
well, it's like the whole origin story though of Treadwell Farms, right? Like how it became what it was.
Yeah. The best thing.
Yes. I love it.
So what would you say, Jaimme, for someone that's never tried it? What would be your first go-to? What would be the great thing to order from you? Oh.
Oh, that's a good idea. For sure. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you and kind of get this more information?
Where is Treadwell Farms? Where is it? I love that. And aren't you graciously offering a discount for our listeners? Oh.
Oh. Ah. Oh, that's so
Oh,
great.
so generous. Thank you.
And Mandy, are you available for consultations too? Perfect.
Wonderful.
Oh
Wow,
man.
you
Well,
ladies are a wealth of information. Definitely. So great. So great. So
well,
nice to meet you.
it's so aligned with mental health because it's bringing agency back to people and letting them feel empowered and be. It's once you start getting into it, it is a holistic picture, and so this is just one of the pieces of the puzzle in order to really feel, I don't know, just such agency with yourself in order to like know how to move forward and take care of your needs. So I love it. It's so empowering. It's so aligned. Thank you both for being here. We appreciate it. Thank you for the discount. I'd love to come out
Yes.
to the farm one day and just see it all.
Yes.
And you,
Yes.
oh
Yes,
my
we'll do a
gosh.
field trip, Sarah. Field trip.
I love it. I love it.
Great.
Oh,
I'm
we
sure.
can't wait.
Sure. Thank you.
Oh, thank you both so much.
Yes.